Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us here on SABC News. The SACP's 15th National Congress is currently underway in Boksburg in the east of Johannesburg. The four-day gathering is expected to elect new leadership, with the SACP's longest-serving General Secretary, Doctor Blade Nzimande, set to step down after almost 25 years at the helm. Let's get an update then. We cross live to our reporter, Samkele Maseko, who's covering this for us. Very good afternoon to you, Samkele. Let's talk about the big story, I suppose. That's what's become sort of the big story, the fact that Dr. Blade Nzimande is indeed stepping down as the GS after almost 25 years. What's the reaction from the SACP in general, members, and I think specifically the leadership of the SACP?
Well, the SACP is pretty much a divided organization along factional lines. There are those whom are thrilled that one of the longest-serving general secretaries of the Communist Party after Moses Kotane, that would be Blade Nzimande, is stepping down after 24 years at the helm of the South African Communist Party, where he was first elected in 1998, where Charles Nkula stepped down as the general secretary of the Communist Party. Remember, at that Congress, Alfred Nzo had been deployed by the South African government as an ambassador. Then you had Blade Nzimande acting as the national chairperson of the African Communist Party. They are now, there's a particular grouping within the SACP led by Themba Mthembu, the current provincial secretary of the South African Communist Party in KwaZulu-Natal, led by Bonagele Majuba, the provincial secretary of the SACP in Mpumalanga, and also Jacob Mamabulu in Gauteng, whom are saying that Blade Nzimande must become the national chairperson of the South African Communist Party, as Senzeni Zokwane takes a step down as well from the positions of power within the SACP. Blade Nzimande is saying that he has availed himself to the discretion of the delegates of this 15th National Congress of the party to be deployed into any position, hence those members of him contesting for the position of national chairperson. But interestingly, for the first time in the SACP since that 1998 conference, there is no consensus as yet that has been reached on the top brass leadership, the NOBs of the party. The only position where there is consensus currently is the position of General Secretary for the position for Soli Mapaila only. All other positions, there's no consensus as yet. They are currently deliberating on the matter. They are engaged in a central committee meeting at this point in time. The main key point and take out of this National Congress of the party is that there is a huge, strong push for this Congress to be and to have a contestation for all other positions except the General Secretary position. We do know that the former Director General of the Department of Higher Education and Training, Gwebs, he is murmured to contest Blade Nzimande for the position of National Chairperson. If he does not make it to contest Blade Nzimande, they do want to bring in Dr. David Masondo to contest Blade Nzimande as the National Chairperson. So in essence, this Congress of the SACP may end up being there a contestation for these positions except the General Secretary position.
Okay, I want to talk about what we can expect from today's proceedings in the conference, but you've now made me think about something else when you're talking about these particular groupings within the SACP, and that the SACP is divided, much like we see with the ANC. Let's talk about these groupings. I would assume that there is one of those groupings where Dr. Blade Nzimande is much aligned, and is he perhaps showing or leaning or showing more support to one of these, I'll say, factions more than the other? I mean, what can you tell us from what you've sort of observed having been there?
In essence, Flo, I'm just opening my phone and I'm going to go to those particular perspectives that are there for this Congress so that I don't get the names of these particular individuals wrong. We do know that Dr. Blade Nzimande features prominently within the core of the incumbent, perceived to be the old guard of the party. Namely, he's there as chairperson. Then you've got deputy chairperson Thula Sinxisi, General Secretary Solima Paila, which there's a consensus around his name. Then the first first deputy secretary goes to Madala Masugu, the second deputy goes to Jenny Shrina, then the treasurer goes to Joyce Marupa, which is the perspective that Dr. Nzimande is aligned to. Then there is this particular perspective, which is largely seen as those whom are rebelling against the incumbent leadership of the party. There you have Solima Paila, which there's consensus around him for general secretary. Then there's Olile Ngata, who comes from the Eastern Cape province, who is the first deputy secretary. Then the second deputy is Dr. David Masondo, who comes from the province of Limpopo. Then there is Gwebs Ngondo, who is the former director general of the Department of Higher Education and Training, who was fired by Blade Nzimande. You remember that spat between Gwebs Ngondo and Blade Nzimande, particularly, which ended up being escalated to President Cyril Ramaphosa. Then you've got Nomalungelo Gina, who comes in as the deputy chairperson. Then you've got Revina Foray, who comes in as the national treasurer. That is the perspective that is deemed to be rebelling against the incumbent perceived old guard leadership of the South African Communist Party, led by Sinzeni Zokwana, Chula Singlisi, Blade Nzimande, and Solima Paela, whom initially Solima Paela was supposed to be and nominated to be the general secretary of the party at the 2017 Congress here, which was held at Beirut Hotel. Then they reached a consensus that Dr. Blade Nzimande must come back due to the tumultuous point that the ANC found itself in those fractional battles between former President Zuma and the incumbent president of the ANC, now Cyril Ramaphosa, who seemingly seems to enjoy tremendous support from these two particular groupings within the SACP, and he is also expected to deliver a message of support on behalf of the African National Congress here on Friday at the Congress of the South African Communist Party.
All right, Samkele, many thanks to you. Our senior reporter there, Samkele Maseko, for us at the SACP's 15th National Congress, which is currently underway in Boksburg in the east of Johannesburg. It will be a 4-day gathering.